Welcome to Villains and Creeps. This is week two of Fright Month. What we covered last week, we went over our favorite shows. This week, what we're going to talk about is Deja Vu and our experience with it. What can you tell us about that, Gerald?
So Deja Vu, I don't know, man. Some of that stuff really interesting. I like hearing stories about it. I always like going into it, and it's always kind of creepy. And you sit there and have a dream or something, or a thought about something, and then all of a sudden the next day you're living it out, or even a week or a month away. My dad had a couple weird stories about Deja Vu when he was riding his motorcycle and stuff. When he first got his motorcycle, he just wanted to get out of town. He drove to Kansas City just to visit some friends down there. And as soon as he got into this little town out there, he knew every street corner, every sign, the stores, everything. And he's never been there before a day in his life. And it like really freaked him out. So it was like almost like driving into like a past world, It's like, what the hell? And I always wonder if deja vu is kind of associated with even like past life in a way. If you think about reincarnation, things like
Or
that.
I was thinking it could be you sending yourself like some type of sense from another dimension.
And that could be a possibility too, like the interdimensional thing where, they talk about like all this stuff, how we remember things, what the Mandela effect instance,
Yeah,
like we remember certain things like the Fruit of the Loom basket being there, the cornucopia, and then now all of a sudden it's not. We
yeah.
remember Chick-fil-A being Chic-fil-A, you
Mm.
know, just different things like that. I don't know if
If
you
you
ever
want
heard
to take
that
a
one or not.
break on this for a second, do you believe in the Mandela effect?
You know, I don't know. Some things are interesting. Like personally, I never remembered Star Wars. I never remembered C-3PO having a red leg. I never remembered that when I was watching Star Wars when I was a kid. But then once again, being a kid, you
Yeah,
don't
I think
catch
you're
on to
too
things like that.
observant about it.
Yeah, and then you see it now as an adult, and wait a minute, he always had a red leg, or he always had a different color body part. That's weird. I don't remember that ever.
Yeah,
But
I
then
think.
I have friends who are like diehard Star Wars fans, and they're like, yes, he always had that leg, and
Oh, okay.
that Mandela effect's bullshit, and on and on. It's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's how I take it. Like, if other people remember, I'm like, yeah, that's confirmed. And I'm like, okay, then you remember. I think the only weird thing that when I first heard about Mandela effect was the Berenstain Bears. I was like,
Yeah,
their name is Stain. I was like, for real? It's like I'd never even. Were we just not reading the book the whole time? I don't know. It's weird.
and that's a possibility too. It just I don't know, strange things like that, and there's always stuff out there that you don't remember, or maybe you thought you remembered it a certain way.
Hmm.
And memory's funky that way. It's a little funny. Things
Yeah,
that aren't in great detail, you don't remember it.
another one that I remember is Shazam, if you heard of that one.
Yeah, see, I remember that too, and I swear to God, I watched that movie.
I swore I saw ads for it in like commercials. Oh, and
Yeah,
another thing, another big one, Publishing Clearinghouse with Ed McMahon. I remember vividly getting one of his letters, the brown letters with red print with his face on it, and all of a sudden he's never been a spokesperson of it. I,
yeah,
I remember that vividly. That's one of if that's only one of them, that's the one that I believe in because I remember that vividly.
yeah. Stuff like that's just crazy. And then I wonder, like, how much of that dives into, we kind of went off a tangent there, but kind of dives into like deja vu, and
Yeah,
maybe it's like when you're dreaming or something, or when you're, yeah, I guess when you're dreaming, like your mind's going to another state, so you're seeing maybe something that I don't know if it's like perceived future, maybe because some things here and there.
yeah.
But to not deviate from it is what freaks me out. It's like here we'll have a conversation, and I'm this is deja vu. I've had this conversation before. Well, I'm not going to say what I've said before, and then you still say it,
Yeah.
and like
I got a
it's
question for
just
you. So when you sense it's happening, do you continue with what's going on or what do you do about it? Do you try to
that's the
change it?
thing. So like if I do figure out like if it's happening, I kind of just let it play out anymore. Like instead of trying to stop it, it's
Hmm.
just one of those deals when you just play it out and say, okay, well, this happened before. It's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
But it's been
That,
few and far in between when I've had it now. I haven't had deja vu in a long time.
yeah, me either. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe about a month ago. I think when I have it is I try to do everything opposite that I'm thinking of at the moment. I think that doing the opposite is always the better path for some reason. And it's funny that you talked about how your dad went to a town and he knew everything was. When I went, the first time I went to Gallup, I had like an affinity with Gallup, New Mexico. I don't know if you ever been there or not.
I haven't been to Gallup yet.
It's a poor native town, and I feel like it's home. Like I've been there before, like I should be there. And there's another native town on the border of Arizona. Well, it's in Arizona. It's called Window Rock. I don't know if you ever heard it, but it's a giant
We've driven through Window
arch.
Rock before.
Okay. So you know that area, and it
Hmm.
just, for whatever reason, I'm just always drawn to that area, and I always want to go back, even though it's really depressed. It just feels like I should be there. It's very strange.
It's just a drawing to you. It's kind of interesting, you say stuff like that. So like, there's certain things you people think about. Like, oh yeah, I'm drawn to this area for some reason.
Hmm.
That makes me think of what if may possibly a past life or
I
things like
think for
that.
sure. Yeah.
That maybe you had some dealings there. My dad had a story about past life too. It was kind of like deja vu in a way. So when he was a kid, he said he had a vivid dream that he was in like an army, and it was like around Troy, around those times,
Hmm.
Greek army, and he was a soldier with a spear, and he was really young. Well, been the age when he had the dream. He was the same age, and he says he remembers elephants being there, and he ran and got speared in the back, and then he woke up, with
Hmm.
pain. Well, that day they were out in the farm, and his brother and his brother's friend were shooting a 22 clear on the other side of the farm. They're shooting at birds.
Hmm.
While my dad was on the opposite side of the farm, they shot and ended up shooting kind of towards him. He got hit in the back in the same spot that the spear hit him
Oh, wow.
with a bullet, and the bullet was still lodged in his back. Like it didn't, like obviously it wasn't like a through and through, but it went in.
Hmm.
And he said it was crazy. So it was really like trippy. Like he had that dream about getting speared right in the back, and then the next day he got shot in the back by a
Were they just
22.
not paying attention or
Yeah, they just
what was
weren't paying attention. They didn't realize he was on the other side of the field. They were shooting at birds, and one of his friend, his brother's friend, shot,
hmm.
and it went and hit him right in the same spot.
Oh, wow.
And he said it was just crazy because it was
What a weird dream.
he had the dream about dying or being stabbed in the back, and then it happened. Gets hit in the back with a bullet,
Yeah,
and
that's
that was a strange one.
yeah, that's it's just real. I always feel like a sick feeling when I get deja vu. I don't know why. Like it's upsetting to me more than it is like, wow. It's like gross. It's deja vu.
Yeah, it's strange. Like, well, why am I reliving this? What's going on? And
Yeah.
yeah, I have an odd feeling about it when it happens to me. It's just kind of funky.
Hmm.
It gives you a strange sensation, and I don't know why. And I just thought that was a really interesting topic to talk about.
Moving on to get to our second topic. Into our second topic would be the top five favorite video games, horror games. Round.
Okay, yeah. So, do you want to start this one out?
Sure, I'll start it. And this was a hard list to do. Just like we're thinking about movies and running down movies and shows, there's just so many. And
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I narrowed down the list. My first one is Grabbed by the Ghoulies on the original Xbox. And you play, I don't know if you ever played that before, but it's a
I
kid
haven't.
named Cooper, and he's with his girlfriend, and they're walking by a haunted house, and the girlfriend gets kidnapped by Baron von Ghoul. He's a character who is in the mansion and he has a bunch of ghoulies in his house. So you go through the house and instead of pushing buttons like the punch, like X, A, and all that, you use the two control joysticks to fight and to move around. So the left is to move around and the right is to punch and kick. So that's the whole function of the game. But
Oh, wow.
that's what
That's so cool.
inspired. I know you've seen like my Golden Axe skeletons and all that.
Hmm.
They have skeletons in that game, and just I always wanted skeletons, like a of action figure of the skeletons in that game. Just everything about that, like the monsters and The environment is really cool. There's even like jump scares in it where you have to pass a hallway and there's mounted scary faces like monster faces and all that, and you gotta press the buttons kind of like would it be like Prappa the Rappa, where you like correct the function,
Press
the
the
buttons, the correct button
yeah the
combination. That's what I was
certain
thinking.
layout.
Button combination, and then you have to get past it like you're scared in the game. It's pretty neat. So if you've never played it before, I definitely recommend it.
I have to check that out. It looks kind of interesting. I'm seeing the art and everything on it. It looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's it's a fun game.
Nice.
What's your number four or number five?
Okay, so number five probably for me would have been a Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube.
Hmm.
And that was a fun game because it was the first over-the-shoulder view.
Was that
I don't know
set
if
in
you ever played
Spain?
that one. Yeah, and it
Okay.
was Lost Plagas instead of zombies. So it was a little bit different, but like all the characters in it were pretty cool. So one of the guy looked like Grigori Rasputin.
Hmm.
That was one of the villains, like one of the first villains you kill. And what was cool about that game is you're sitting there playing it, and then like the interactive cutscenes. So to me, that was one of those like that's never happened before in a survival horror video game. So you're playing, then oh good, a cutscene. I can put the controller down. You put the controller down, and all of a sudden it has the button mash like prompt, like
Yeah.
hit A, keep tapping, and then like some dude chainsaws your head off. It's like oh shit, that's never
Okay.
happened before. It's bullshit. So that was kind of cool. That'd be number five for me because I've always followed the Resident Evil series. I always liked the zombie series for that one.
Hmm.
And that was the first one where they kind of changed the dynamics of the zombies. It wasn't really zombies you're fighting, it's more the plague, like a
Yeah.
parasite.
Hmm.
So in a way it took away from the zombie feel, but the fact it's number five and it's not lower down on my list is just because it took away from the zombies, but it's still on my list because of the stuff that happened, like the cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah,
And that
it's
interactive cutscene
definitely
was so cool.
a real horror video game because I
Yeah.
think it's freaky. Just the people in it are creepy.
Yeah. And man, like the villains are so well done.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but anytime I've played survival horror and they start doing multiplayer, it just kills the horror for me. It's dumb.
Yeah, it becomes less of a enclosed environment.
Yeah, and it's not as scary when you have a partner, you know?
Yeah. And one thing I could add to Resident Evil 4 is the chainsaw controller that they had for it. Man, that was so cool. I don't know
Yeah,
if you remember that.
I do remember. I never did get it, but I do remember it.
Yeah, I always wanted one of those. I'd see it. It was like, this is fucking cool. I don't know how it would work or if it would be exactly functional, but it's cool nevertheless. I just like chainsaw stuff. So my number four is Are You Afraid of the Dark? Orpheo's Curse. Have you heard of that game?
No, I haven't.
So what it is a brother and sister. They are near a theater and they see all graphics. It's a closed down theater. It's set in maybe the 20s, I believe. And they're walking by it and they see all the ads and everything and they sneak in. And it's a point and click game. That's how the functionality, if you ever played a point and click game before.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I remember playing point and clicks back when they were big in like the library.
Yeah,
Like when you're able to go to the library and play computer games, the very first start ones.
yeah. I think you would love this game if you tried it, but you have to go solve the mystery of Orpheo's curse, why he's cursed. And I don't want to give up too much, but walking through the whole thing and you have to solve the mysteries and all that, and there's times where you're chased by a skeleton and you have to run away in the correct way or it's going to get you and you have to restart. And it's all led by the Midnight Society. So the cast from Are You Afraid of the Dark, they're integrated in the game. So they start off the story and you have to continue the story. It's a really cool element to it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so there's alternate endings too. So if you don't correct exactly finish the game like you should, it makes you go back and it's just like, well, this shouldn't happen. Are you sure you want to do this? Like the Midnight Society will say this. But
Prompting you is like, hey, I do this instead.
yeah, it's just I think it's aged pretty well for what it is. It's kind of the functionality is kind of dated, but still it's just a great game.
That's cool. It's kind of neat you brought up one of the point and clicks because those are just old school.
Hmm.
And I remember playing a couple of them. down out in the library and stuff. And those are always kind of neat games to play, and it just shows like kind of how far we've gotten in video
Yeah,
game technology now.
yeah. It would be kind of cool to see an updated version of point and click. I don't know
Yeah,
if
it would be
they make
kind of
them
neat.
anymore.
I don't think so. I know there's a few here and there, but it's not straight up point and click like they used to do. What
Hmm.
I like about that one, those ones is like it's almost like the I don't know if you remember the old books they used to make where it's choose your own adventure.
Yeah,
So you read the book and then all of a sudden like it says, do you do this or do you do that? Turn to page 67, turn to page 3, what
yeah. I
have
know
you.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then you either die or you do something right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how that reminded me.
What's your number four?
Number 4 for me, let's see, I'm trying to think, would probably have to be Outlast. Outlast was a really good one.
Okay.
And I don't, you probably never did play that one yet.
No, I haven't.
That's another good one too. And what was kind of cool about that game, and I liked it with survival horror, was so
I know
it's
what it
based out
is,
of
but I have never played it.
yeah, you're based out of an insane asylum in Colorado, and you're a reporter, so you don't have like weapons. So it kind of leaves you completely and utterly defenseless. You're just basically running and hiding. And you want to talk about creepy characters and stuff, and just being on edge. That game puts you on edge because like you have to hide in lockers and stuff and not make sounds. And the only thing you have is a camcorder, and the only light you have is the battery that you get for these camcorders. So that's how you see like the light and stuff. So you can go like in what is it like a night vision mode
Hmm.
and kind of see where things are. It's just a jacked up freaking game, but it was really good. That was another one of those ones where it puts you on edge, and it's good because it was a survival horror game that came out when everything else was starting to come out just hokey. So
Yeah.
you had like Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6, those were team up games. You had Dead Space 3, which sucked. Then you had there was another one out there. It was called Fear, but they did like it was a not a sequel, but a 3 part of it, and same thing.
Hmm.
Those games were good when they were solo. When you started teaming up, I think me and my buddy beat Fear 3 in like one sitting because we were just
Really?
plowing through it, man. And it was
Oh,
just and it takes away from the fear.
yeah.
The Outlast was scary. It was a good freaking game.
Yeah. I'll have to. And what platform was it on?
That one's actually I think it's on everything now, but it was on
Is it now?
Xbox.
Did they remake it,
Yeah.
remaster it?
I think they might have. I know you can still get it on like the Xbox Play Store and stuff. You can get Outlast and Outlast
Okay.
2.
Okay.
Outlast 1 was a little scarier, I think, because you're more isolated because you're trying to escape this insane asylum. So Outlast 2 was more like farmland and things like that, from what I
Okay.
remember.
All right. So moving on to my number three is Doom 2. I don't know if you ever played the original Doom series.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because you mentioned yesterday that, or in the first show, I should say, but we did it yesterday. Your dad used to play Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Wolfenstein, I was like, yeah, man, Wolfenstein was really good. And then another one, oh man, I forgot about that too, is Blake Stone. It's set in this outer space, but it's the same thing. It's a first person shooter. It's like old Doom, like in between Doom and Wolfenstein, and there's monsters everywhere, like space monsters. It's a really good one. Blake Stone is really good, but Doom 2, just the environment that it puts you in and the feel of it, it's real dark and the horror, and you have a chainsaw. That's the first time you had the chainsaw in the game, or you got to use one in any game, which is pretty cool. And I used to put on music and play Doom 2. Just it would just set you in the mood to play the game. That was really fun. And one element about it that was terrifying to me, like when it happened in the game, is the resurrectors, that they would come and they'd raise their hand and the dead, everything that died would raise from the dead.
Yeah.
Those would always creep me out. But it's a really good game just for the nostalgia purposes too.
Yeah. I hear you're there for nostalgia. Yeah, I still remember playing Wolfenstein and everything.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
was so fun. And the first time, well, I never understood in Wolfenstein if you played through the whole game, did you play it through?
yeah.
So there's a point, I think it's stage three where you kill Hitler. Why was it stage three? I never understood that. You still had two stages after that.
Who
Like
knows?
you think that would be the end boss.
Yeah, you think, yeah, you kill Hitler, you win, but I guess
Yeah.
not. Go on.
Yeah, you had to
I
make
guess in
sure
the
all the Nazis were dead. Like there can't be one. That was the whole purpose of Wolfenstein. Did you
yeah,
ever get to the secret uh tunnels or I guess through the doorways where you would open the walls and there was a point where there was Pac-Man, the ghosts. Did you ever get to
I don't
that?
think. I don't think I ever did get that. Like, I think
And
I
they
ended
wouldn't
up
die.
playing that. I think I ended up playing that. Or they might have had that secret level in like a modern Wolfenstein they made. There was like an
Okay.
Easter egg you could
It was
find.
like a throwback. Okay.
Yeah, so you can find the throwback, and because I remember they used to have you'd walk in like a certain area, and then it was actually like boom, it throws you back in the old school Wolfenstein game for a little
Oh, that's
bit,
cool.
and then it throws you into the new one again. So some Easter eggs here and there. I always appreciated Wolfenstein, not to get off on like a tangent or anything, but I don't know if you ever played the modern ones,
Yeah.
but I always liked the alternate history, like stuff you find. Like, so if you just wander around in that world, you see like newspaper articles and it tells you like how the Nazis invaded the US and how
Hmm.
they did this and how they developed this Uber weapon. And it's kind of cool because it shows like a different perspective, like alternative history. And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
The
And
lore
it's
was pretty good.
it's kind of parallel too because the Nazis were doing weird shit
Yeah, well, that
and
Thule
mystic
Society
shit.
and everything.
Yeah.
So
What's your number three?
number three would be, I'd say, Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64.
Okay, the remake.
Yeah, well,
Oh no,
it
no, it
wasn't even
wasn't a
it was the
remake. It
original.
was just that edition. Yeah, okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
because the Nintendo 64 was the original Resident Evil 2. I think they did it with the PS1 as well, didn't they? Because I think the PS1 came out around the same time the 64 did, if I'm not mistaken.
I
But
think
I
it
never did
came
play
on
that one.
after because I remember getting, now that you say that, the 64 edition, and that actually had the cutscene in it.
Yeah,
They were the beginning cutscene. I remember that. And I think the only difference in the PlayStation version is one was Rumble and one wasn't.
yeah, that was kind of a neat feature too, that Rumble feature with the old
Mhm.
school controller. But Resident Evil 2 was just, damn, it was fun. Um, I just remember that was the first like survival horror game that I ever played, like ever in my life. My
Yeah.
dad bought it. It had a zombie on there, like the hand and the eye. And I was like, what the hell? This is really cool. And then I remember the scariest parts, like the first appearance of the liquor, that was fucking scary.
Hmm.
And then when you walk through a hallway multiple times, nothing's ever happened. And then one time you walk too close to those windows and the arms bust out and grab you. It was like
Yeah.
the best jump scare ever. Then I remember
That's,
playing that game because you play it four times. So you go Leon A, Claire B, Leon B, Claire A, and those are the four times. I just remember like playing Leon like the first time and being in it, was like, my God, man, that poor bastard just gets beat to shit, gets shot all kinds, and he's over limping and hurting
yeah.
through the whole freaking deal. And Claire just comes out like clean as a whistle. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
That
What
poor
do you
guy
think of
got
the
shot in the
Resident
ribs.
Evil movies?
Um, I was disappointed. I liked the first one. I really did. When they go in the hive and that little girl, the Red Queen, the "You're
Yeah.
all gonna die down here." That was cool. And the soundtrack to the first one was just freaking epic, man. I love the soundtrack to that movie.
Yeah. It's pretty
So
good.
that kind of, it was cool, but I don't know. I think they got hokey as shit like towards the end.
I think you could put it in the category that they're so bad they're good, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Kind of like
I'll give you that.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, it's some of like the first few of them. I think one, two, and three did really good, and then it just started getting out of control.
Yeah. They're kind of, in my opinion, they're kind of digestible. Like
Yeah,
if you want to just watch crap.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like if it's on TV, like, oh hey, Resident Evil, I'm gonna watch this.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can see that. And same thing. I love Starship Troopers too. I think that's a good fucking movie.
Yeah, it's timeless to me, even though that it's so corny and campy,
Yeah.
but it's just I don't know, it's just good. It's timeless, in my opinion. So my we're on number two, right?
Two. Yeah.
Okay. My number two is Zombies Ate My Neighbors from the Super Nintendo.
Nice.
Played that game?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Yeah, and basically, and I have a big, I don't know if you ever seen that picture, and I can't take it off the wall, but it has the actual squirt gun in it.
Oh, nice.
So I made that. So there's a poster in back. It's like kind of like a realistic poster. I wish I could go and send it. I'll put it up on the screen. We're talking about it, but also there's a limited run games. They released Zombies Ate My Neighbors on the Switch, and they also put it out on the Xbox and the PlayStation 4. And
Nice.
so the special edition came with that squirt gun, and it's exactly like the squirt gun they use in the game. So if you're familiar with the game, what's in the squirt gun is holy water. So that's how he's able to defeat the zombies and the other characters. And it's a very hard game if you ever played it before, but it's just the atmosphere and it puts you in the world. And even though it's 16-bit, it's just so classic in the music. I don't know if you ever played like the Sega Genesis edition versus the Super Nintendo, but the music is not the same. It's
Yeah. It's
totally different. It's like real um primitive in the sound compared to the Super Nintendo where it has the voices and all that, like the ghoul screams, and it's just so good on Super Nintendo.
nice.
And that's one that Jess used to tell me is that she would be freaked out to play that game. So I didn't want to play Zombies Ain't My Neighbors because I showed her one time where there was an arcade cabinet someone made custom and it was Zombies Ate My Neighbors and she was just so enamored by that by that arcade machine.
Oh man, that's funny.
What's your number two?
So number two would actually be so Zelda Majora's Mask. And I know it's not really like a horror like video game,
Hmm.
but just the way that game was made. And I don't know if you ever played Majora's Mask or not with Zelda, but like it put you on a time crunch to get stuff done, and this big old evil moon just coming down to destroy the world.
Yeah.
That was always a fun game. I helped Jess with that one. Um, it was kind of funny, but yeah, that's how I ended up getting her GameCube because we ended up getting her an Xbox.
Hmm.
But I got her GameCube because she couldn't beat that game, so I went down to help her
Okay.
back in high school, and I actually got in trouble for it with my ex because she thought I was going down there. Like we were
So
just going down to game, like I didn't care. And then
yeah.
like somebody told her that I was going down there,
Oh,
and I was like,
really?
"No,
Oh,
it's
come
just to
on.
get this GameCube. I'm trying to help her beat this game. It's tough. It's hard. There's like
Yeah.
certain scenes in those old school Zelda games on the GameCube where I remember the bosses were it wasn't even a boss. It was just zombies that are or the mummies in that game.
Hmm.
They'd stare at you and scream, and it's just a god awful scream,
Yeah.
and it'd freeze you, and you couldn't move. And I was under the cemetery and stuff. But that was a fun game. I remember that one, and that was I like that one just because it had a little bit of like just creepy vibes to it, and then just the fact that you had to beat it in the time crunch with the masks and everything, and it was just a damn good game,
Yeah.
well executed.
It is a good game. And my favorite game of all time is Link to the Past. I don't know if you played that one before.
Yeah, man, it's
I
just a
love it
timeless
so much.
classic.
Yeah.
Have you played the remastered
Of which one?
Link to the Past?
They have a remaster?
I think they did,
No,
or they just upgraded the graphics to it.
really? No,
Yeah, so it's different cell shading stuff, I think,
I have to
or
look
it's
it up
just the
now.
colored version. It might just
Okay.
be the colored version because I know they did two of them. So they did Link to the Past with the original on the Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
And then they did, you know what? No, it was a Game Boy Color version. They
There was a
came
Game
out with a
Boy
Game Boy
Advanced one
Advance.
called Four
Yeah.
Swords.
No, there was actually a Link to the Past one they did that was just colored. So like you saw like the shading and stuff, and it was actually kind of cool. And I think it had a little bit of a different there was something else different, and I can't remember what, if I'm not mistaken. Another one too they remastered. I don't know if you ever played it. Was Link's Awakening.
Oh, okay. From the, is that the Game Boy? Link's
Yeah,
Awakening?
Game Boy came out with that one, and then they came out with a remastered one, for the Switch, and it was really well done.
Hmm.
Like
I'll
I even
definitely
have
have
the
to check
little
out that
figurine
one.
of it, and it's pretty cool because the little amiibo of him,
Hmm.
instead of it just being like a Zelda, it actually looks like he's out of the game. The
Hmm.
way he's painted and everything, just the way it looks in the art style. So the new Zelda they came out with now, where you play as the princess,
Oh, you play
is
as the princess, like the one
yeah,
you're always trying to, like
yeah, the
actual
one,
Zelda.
yeah, Zelda. You
Okay.
actually play as Zelda in this next one that they just did, and it's the same art style as Link's Awakening.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool, man. If you ever get a chance to play them, I highly recommend it. It was a good game,
Yeah, I'll
and all
definitely. I want to look
it's
those
one of
up.
those games. It was one of those games too, like you beat it and then you're kind of sad.
You want more? Yeah, it's kind of like how every video game is that you like.
It's not that you want more. I can't really spoil it if you haven't played it. I'll just let you play it through because
Okay.
that one's just it's a whole entire different concept of a Zelda game, and I want to say that one's like I can't remember like in the history of Zelda games like where it is, but it's kind of like an offshoot is what it was. Like so, he was traveling from one area to another and then crashed his boat on an island,
That's
the
where the story
Windfish
takes
Island,
place.
and that's kind of where it takes place. So it's between like a certain section of if you look in the lore of Zelda, which is a pain in the ass to try to figure out.
Yeah, I know Nintendo did it before, and they came out with a book where it maps the whole history. So
Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. Okay, for honorable mentions, mine, the one that I have in mind is Castlevania 4 from the Super Nintendo. So
nice.
that's I couldn't decide, and also Resident Evil 4 was a good one too. And I just couldn't decide on which one to put as number five. So that's why I put the Castlevania 4. And I just love the video game and the horror aspect to it and trying to defeat Dracula, which the games are all the same. If you ever played the original Super or
Yeah,
regular Nintendo ones compared to all the way one through three and then four. And then the thing about it I love about this is you could whip around the whip instead of just having one direction where it's forward, or if you turn around it's backward, you could whip up and do it 360 with the whole swinging of the whip. That was a good element to it. And we previously talked about Resident Evil 4. And another one would be Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill. And I think the memory that I have of that, besides it being the video game itself, is also the movie was pretty terrifying to the,
yeah.
the atmosphere that it puts you in too, as well. So those were my honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions for me, one of them would be Silent Hill. I think it was Silent Hill 2 would be one. And it's like you said, man, that atmosphere it puts you in was just even the movie, man, I like the movie, the whole entire air raid sirens. That used to freak
Yeah.
just the hell out with that because it used to
Hmm.
be my ringtone.
Really?
Yeah, I used to have it as a text tone. Is that
Okay.
horrible, god awful World War I air raid siren? So I remember one time we all spent the night at our buddy's house, and I don't know why, but I plugged my phone in the hallway. So she was
Hmm.
sleeping in one room, we were sleeping in the other. And that damn thing went off because it was my alarm. She just freaked. What the fuck was that? Why is that there? She just freaked the hell out. And there was one time too. It was freaking funny. This was when I was in college, and the movie came out around then too. So we're jogging real early in the freaking morning. Those hills back there by well, it's not hilling. It's a road now and a solar farm. But back then there was nothing out there. It was just dirt road going out
Mhm.
towards the golf course and stuff. We used to run that, and we used to run it like 4 or 5 in the morning. And one day, man, it was just like fog, heavy, heavy fog. And I was like, I'm gonna fuck with people. Threw that air raid siren on.
They were right on.
Yeah. It's like, what the hell?
That's funny.
But yeah. So Silent Hill 2 was a good one. They came out with another game too around the same time Silent Hill came out. Dino Crisis.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever played Dino Crisis.
Yeah.
But it was once again, it was I think Camcom came out with it. It was Camcom. And it was just your same concept and stuff. I remember playing that game, and my mom would sit there and watch me play, and she'd have a notebook in hand. So anytime we had a code or any kind of thing
Oh,
we had to
really?
remember, she'd sit there and write it down. It's like, okay, the code was this, this is this, we. sit there and just that was kind of a cool core memory because it was just one of the things we just played a game like together. She'd sit there and watch, took notes, and
Yeah, that's pretty cool
we
that your
sit there and
mom
watched it. It was
would do
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Another one that I forgot would be House of the Dead, where you go to the arcade and
Oh
play
man.
the light guns. House of the Dead 2
Yeah.
was better than House of the Dead 1, but still, I mean,
Now
they're
was
both
House of the
classic
Dead
games.
2? No, they had another one too called Carnival. Remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, Carnival is good too. I remember those games. That's a good honorable mention. I forgot all about those until you said it.
Yeah, I just
'Cause
remembered it from you
yeah,
talking about Dino Crisis. I remembered it. I remembered it. So my number one is the Left 4 Dead series. Left 4 Dead
okay,
1 and Left 4 Dead 2. And to this day, I have it right here, my Xbox 360. My daughter and I still play it almost every day. We
nice.
we can't stop playing it. We recently downloaded because I never played like the extra content in it where you the downloadables and all that. So now we're getting to play like the new content for the old maps, even though she's damn near 20 years old. It just made us so excited that we get to play it, but we could just play that over and over. And the characters are so good. I just wish the games were longer. I wish they would make part three Valve, because if you know anything about Valve, they have a tendency to make games and just end the series, even though people love it and they just
Yeah,
move on. So I've been waiting for Half-Life 3 forever, but Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, and if you've ever played it before, the characters and just the interaction, and that's what Zombie or was it Zombieland was based off of. So Zombie
yeah,
was originally supposed to be a Left 4 Dead movie, and they changed it around because they were worried that Left 4 Dead or video games, because they traditionally don't do well, wouldn't do well. So they switched around the cast and added different elements to it, but it's basically the same. Like if you played Left 4 Dead 2, you go into the carnival, and they also go into the carnival in the
in the
Zombieland
movie.
movie.
Yeah,
So it's kind of synonymous. Like they left some elements to it, which is pretty neat, but I can't get enough of those games.
Left 4 Dead was fun, man. I used to love those games. We used to play co-op all the time on those. It was just goddamn, it was fun.
Oh,
That was a good one to do.
it's so cool. It's just one game I cannot put down ever.
I remember I always hated those witches, the ones that screech or the scream. Ah,
Yeah,
this one sucks.
can't put the light on them or make too much sound,
Yeah,
get too close. Yeah.
yeah.
What's your number one?
So my number one would have to be it's Dead Space, and it was the
Okay.
original Dead Space. They made a remake of it too, and they did a really good job. I thought it was great, but Dead Space was just fuck, man. It was iconic and it was scary. They did like watching videos on it, like what they had to do to make that game be a thing is insane. And like I really appreciated it because man, it was at the time when I was playing survival horror and I was just getting, well, these games suck, man. Nothing's scary, nothing's creepy anymore.
Hmm.
Everything's co-op, so everything's easy. And that game came out, and I remember I bought it the first time, and I got pissed, and I sent it back because I shot something in the head, and it still fucking killed me, like in a brutal, horrible way. I was like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck? How do you not kill a zombie by shooting in the head? You always shoot things in the head."
Yeah.
So I'm not getting it. And then I bought it again. Like I remember it took like a year for me to buy it again and try it again, and realizing like, oh, you just cut the limbs off. And Left for oh, it wasn't Left 4 Dead, I'm sorry, Dead Space 1 and 2 were just so freaking good, and they were so well done. Man, it was just creepy. Like, and then the story, it kind of made me laugh because like they had, I think it was called like the Church of Unitology, and
Hmm.
they believed in like the beacon. I don't know if you ever played Left 4 Dead or not Left 4 Dead, but Dead Space.
I
If you
tried
ever
to
played them,
start it, but I just didn't have enough time. I have it back here in the shelves.
it's good. You got to play the originals because the remake kind of changed things up a little bit, combat wise, and all this. And the original was just done so well, but they have this whole entire church cult thing based off of like this obelisk that you find, and when you get to the Dead Space 2, you actually run to the church. It's just fucked up.
Hmm.
But I remember, so one of the creepiest scenes in Dead Space 2, you're going through and there's I don't think it's an orphanage. It's maybe like the place where babies are put after they're born, like the maternity ward or something.
Yeah.
So these little babies are crawling and they're infected with this disease. And this teacher comes up, it's like, come here. And the little baby's like crying, walking up to her. And then she grabs it and hugs it and it just explodes. And then
Hmm.
you have to deal with that shit because they're all over the place. They're like
Oh,
little
so they
spiders
become
almost.
like a enemy in the game.
Yeah. So like,
That's
and they're
creepy.
shitty. Like, you're sitting there trying to deal with stuff. And all of a sudden you hear babies cry. And it's like, oh crap. These little bastards are going to try to explode me. But man, that was such a good freaking series. The third one I was pissed off with because once again they co-opted it,
Mm,
and once they do that to a survival horror game, to me it just loses all fear to it because it's not scary anymore.
yeah,
When I have a partner playing with me, it's like, okay, yeah, you watch my back while I reload, I watch yours. We volley fire and we just fuck shit up, fuck these
yeah.
things.
I think if it's
So
a survival horror, it's no good. But if it's a game like Left 4 Dead where
yeah,
it's
Left 4 Dead
fun
had that
element to
element.
it, yeah.
Yeah, they had the teamwork element, and that's what I liked about Left 4 Dead too. Was because like that was just a game to have fun with. It's like Nazi Zombies. You play that in COD.
Yeah.
It was just fun to see how far you can get and how fast you can do stuff and the levels you can go. And that, to me, the original. I don't know if you've played any of the modern COD ones, the
No, I haven't.
Nazi Zombies or the zombie ones, but the original one where it was just wave after wave coming at you, and you just had to make it to as high as you can. To me, that was always just fun. It was just cool. Like now you have to find different things and put stuff together and
Oh,
do all this
really?
ridiculous crap. And
Yeah.
like they try to put a story to it. It's like, I don't care. I just want to play waves. It's fun to play waves.
Yeah, they tried to like people left Valve and tried to make is it called a game called Back for Blood. I don't know if you heard it, but it's
Mm-mm.
supposed to be an offshoot of Left 4 Dead. And the team that made Left 4 Dead left Valve so they can make it. But I didn't get to play it because there's an element to it where you have to do like card-based things before you got into the shooting part. I was like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? It's like all I want
Yeah.
to do is jump into the game and shoot shit. So like, why do I have to do all this extra shit?
Why are you complicating a good formula?
Yeah, why break it?
Yeah.
So I've never got to play it. I bought it and everything was excited, and I thought it was going to be like Left 4 Dead and had that card game playing element to it was nonsense.
What's the other one they came out? They came out with a couple other games too that were real similar to like you as a team going against another person, but instead of zombies, you're going against like another player in the game. Where it's like one against four, and they get to play like a villain. Like so, they'll play like I know they couldn't do. There's two of them out there. I think one was seven, and I can't remember the other one. I can't remember, but so like one person's Michael Myers going after the four other people, like the four teens, and you're trying
Okay.
to like complete objectives to stop Michael Myers or to stop Jason or to stop
And
Freddy.
then one of the four players plays actually Michael Myers.
No, it's like it's actually five players. Like so, you have four people playing co-op, and then you have the fifth player who's actually playing the villain.
That's a pretty cool idea
And
concept.
that was a cool concept. So they came out with two of them, and one of them obviously they couldn't do like Michael Myers and stuff or
Hmm.
Freddy Krueger or Jason. I think one of the games is Jason, but because of the copyright and all that, but they had villains that were similar, and then they started getting like either the rights to do it
Hmm.
or like just like they create a monster that was similar. So like even like certain monsters do different things, where like one can see through walls or something and can see where you're at. And like what happens, like if they catch you, they hook you onto a thing, like a meat hook, and then like your teammates have to like get you down off of it or you die.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
I
have
can't
to look
remember the
that
name
up.
of those.
That's a really good concept.
Yeah, those might be some cool games to like try to play with you and your daughter and stuff. They're kind of neat too. But
Yeah.
those ones, I don't know, like some of them now, like I remember just back in the day when you had to freaking get two TVs and two Xboxes together, and that's how you played. Now it's easier now, I guess. You can play with all your friends, but I don't know. It's not as
Because you were
it's
part of
not the
that when I used to go to Jess and Chris's house was as conjoined by yours.
Yeah.
And we used to play Halo. Was it Reach? Or which one game was it?
Yeah, I think it was Reach. It was either
Okay.
Reach or it was Halo 4. One of the two.
I couldn't remember which one it was, but we used to play that all the time, multiplayer. But
Yeah.
I'd have to bring over my Xbox.
I don't know. To me, like those days were a lot funner. Like the days of like the LAN parties and stuff.
Yep.
Because like it brings community. I mean, a camaraderie with all your friends, and you sit there and have a pizza party and just have pizza, drinks. You sit there and just play games all day,
Yeah,
and it's fun. Like
it is.
I remember when we first got Jess into Halo and stuff. That was one of the funniest stories we ever had. So we're a bunch of ROTC nerds and stuff. We're all playing down in my buddy Kyle's basement. Kyle sucked at those games. Jess wasn't that good. I was just sniping the shit out of people. And I remember, I think I sniped. We had another Jess until I sniped the one Jess, and then she gave up and threw the controller down. And then Jess picked it up, and started playing our Jess.
Hmm.
She was just getting pissed about getting killed. So I just finally stopped killing her. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop because she said audible out loud to everybody. The next person who fucking kills me, I'm throwing a controller at their head.
Yeah.
Kyle sees the controller empty. He gets excited. It's like, oh, cool, I'm gonna hop on. And he sucks at the game. He gets his first kill, and Jess is like, yes. And all of a sudden, you see this Xbox controller fly across and just hit him in the face. And like all of us were like, oh shit.
She, she was serious.
She was serious. She threw a controller at his face. Like, god damn it.
Yeah, when she got
Uh,
mad, she was mad.
that was so fucking funny.
So moving on, what we also are gonna do is our top five favorite books. You want to start off this one?
Okay, yeah, sure. For horror books and everything,
Yeah.
I have a lot of Stephen King stuff, so that's just the way it goes for me, unfortunately. But so the one I really liked was Needful Things. That I'll put that one on number five. And if you ever watch the movie, it's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. But read the book too, and it's kind of cool if you take notes in a way. And I know it's kind of I don't know if it's like lame or not if you think about that, but if you take notes and keep track of who's like double crossing who,
Hmm.
it's just insane. And it gets in so much more detail in the book, and it's just so jacked up. But that was such a good freaking book when it describes like even like the cars and stuff he described. So in the book, all you see in the movie is like a black Buick drive through. It's real ominous. In the
Yeah.
book, Leland Gaunt drives something called a Tucker Talisman,
Hmm.
and it was a one-off of something called a Tucker Torpedo. I don't know if you've ever seen those cars.
But that's kind of funny that he drove a talisman,
Hmm.
and that's kind of sort of what the movie is about.
Yeah,
It's kind of like foreshadowing
yeah, it's kind of
to
neat.
an
You start
extent.
looking into it. It's like, oh man, that's kind of creepy as shit. Like if, and that's what's cool about it. So you take little notes and you even reread it and realize, oh yeah, this does kind of foreshadow that. Or what's really cool too about that book and a lot of Stephen King's work. So I like his work. I hate him as a person.
Yeah,
The guy's politics are fucking stupid, and he just needs to shut the hell up. But I
agree.
like his books,
Hmm.
and that's the only thing that bums me out about him. But still, back to talking about the book. So there's reference in Needful Things to Cujo and
Really?
stuff like that. Yeah, and
Okay.
there's references here and there in other books. The same thing. You start reading the books and you start finding references to, hey, that book actually links to Christine. That book links to Cujo, and
Because
so on and
what does
so
it
forth.
link to? Because I know there's what does
Uh,
isn't the Dark Tower?
yeah, Dark
Church
Tower.
Dark Tower. Yeah.
So they say Pennywise the Clown is the same as the Crimson King, and I can't remember if it's just in the book or if it was actually in the very first It, the one with Tim Curry. If there was a painting of the eye that says "All Hail the Crimson King" behind the sign of Derry, I can't remember if that was a thing or not. For
You
some
might.
reason, I keep thinking it was.
I think it was.
So that was another like it's just a nod to like the Dark Tower series. Well, the Dark Tower, if you look into that, Jesus, like that's linked into a whole bunch of different books. Salem's Lot, The Talisman, Needful Things, I'd imagine. the Stand, all that stuff's all intertwined in that universe. So
Yeah, I
that
definitely have
Beautiful
to read
Things would be
that.
my fifth. It's good.
My fifth, I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. It's called In a Dark, Dark Room. And some of my books are children's books, so
That's
prepare
fine.
for it. But that's one thing I always like to seek out dark things, even as a kid. And that was one of the first things I came across was In a Dark, Dark Room. And I used to get it on book and tape, and the you could hear that on YouTube now. Go look up Dark in a Dark, Dark Room. And that guy's voice, the guy who narrated it, he just did such a good job. But if you go through one of the most memorable stories is The Ribbon. And in The Ribbon, there's young couple and they meet each other and they show their progression for life through life. And in the premise of the story is she's wearing a ribbon around her neck and he wants to find out why do you keep on wearing this ribbon? He asks like over the whole lifetime up until the end where she's dying in bed and it's finally revealed that the ribbon is actually keeping on her head and her head
Okay.
falls off at the end of the story. And just listening to that as I could have been like 5 years old and I was like so impressed by that story and the way it was narrated. I was like, man, this is so good. So in a dark, dark room, it's it could have been higher, but there's stuff that's better. Definitely.
It's pretty cool. I'm seeing the artwork and everything, and it looks familiar. I'm
Hmm.
definitely gonna have to listen to those. That's cool.
Yeah, the way it was drawn, it was just great. Just everything about it was just so good to me as a kid.
Oh, so that just brought me back to the Scholastic Book Fair and like books like that.
Yeah, if you, I I know my kids went through it, but I don't think it was to an extent that it was maybe when you and I were kids, where it was just such a fun thing, and like you would get your books and like you just have them in hand. It just felt so good. It's just a good feeling when you were a kid and you got Scholastic after ordering
Yeah.
books. So that was a fun element of the past. What's your number four?
So I have to change it now because you just reminded me of those, and I had to look up the artwork. So, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. We found it again, and I bought like all three of them because it's like three volumes of them. And I remember, I don't know if you've seen the book, but it has like a creepy clown on it, like on the front page, like smoking a pipe.
No, I don't think I've seen
But
that.
oh, so they made a movie about it. Like, they made like a whole series on it. It was pretty good. But the Scary Stories of Town in the Dark, I remember it was a Scholastic book fair. Like, I don't know if it was exclusive or just like a special. It was one of those best-selling books. But the
Mhm.
artwork in it was the illustrations were so dark and just creepy, and I really
Wait a
liked them.
minute. Uh, you're talking about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Yeah, Scary Stories of
Okay.
Town in the Dark.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I do remember exactly that. Yeah, the drawings in them. I don't know if you've seen the movie, have you?
Yeah, I watched the movie.
Man, I love the movie. Guillermo del
Yeah,
Toro did such a good job, and the acting in that, because nowadays I think the acting is just so subpar, but the acting in that movie is just so good.
yeah. So man, that was just a good one to have. Like, it was cool because once again, like, you had the stories, but then the illustrations were just
Yeah,
creepy as
great.
shit. And man, I loved them. They were great. Good artwork.
Yeah, and
That
I'm
would be
pretty
one.
sure they also had that on book and tape, and you could look that up. Yeah, they do. Look
Yeah,
it
they
up
do.
on YouTube, and the voice actor on that is just great too.
Yeah, I think the voice actor is George S. Irving, and
Mhm.
he's good.
Yeah, very good. For that was a good one. I was gonna I'm now gonna put that as my arm. I totally blanked that out. Forgot about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. My number four is America's Very Own Monsters, and I'll show you the book right here. And I tried to figure this out. It bothered me for years and years because I always remembered. I try to get it out of the glare.
Nice.
I tried to remember throughout the years up until last year when I finally got it. A certain part of this book, and I was like, man, I got to figure out which book this was. And I would look up horror books, and I would never find it. And finally, I found it. And what we used to haunt me as a kid was, let me find it real quick, a story about the Goat Man. And the way that this book is animated too is just so good. And I happened to find a copy that was like in use in a library. So it has an old
Nice.
library card and everything. And here it is. Like here's the beginning where it says the goat man is here. But it tells a story about the goat man and how it comes with a battle axe sometime and
Oh wow,
it attacks cars. Let me get this in the right position. But this
that's
is
cool.
something that I always remembered and it was haunting as a kid. And I always think about reading that story and like, what if that happens at night? I would always think that as a kid, like if the goat man comes and runs and beats on the car, like and tries to get me or something. But man, I'm so happy that I finally found this book.
America's very own monsters. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's
And
my
that was that basically just almost like a lore book in a way, like
no, it's
monsters
supposed
we
to be
have in the
like true
U.S.
stories that people experience. Yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
has
cool.
it, so every 2 or 3 pages, it tells a different story. So it tells like there's another one with the swamp creatures, and there's like monsters like this, but there's
Oh, that's cool.
it's like real life experiences of what people seen. And there's also the Mothman, and there's the Drover demon. I don't know if you ever heard about that before, but it's yeah, it's
I
like
think I have.
actual stuff that people experience, Bigfoot and everything. So, what's your number four?
So there was a book that my parents had. I have to find the name of it real quick. Um, but it was one of those series books, so it had like mythical creatures, those vampires, zombies, ghosts, dragons, things like that. I
Hmm.
gotta find the name of it. If I can find a picture of it, I could show you. But there was one on there that was there was two of them. One was vampires and one was ghosts. So this is a twofer. But those were so cool because once again it had ghost stories and stuff. And I remember like the artwork in there was just really cool. So they were the story. One of the stories I had was of the Red Tower, the Bloody Red Tower, where King Henry would behead his wives. You know, so I had the story of that, and she's supposed to roam the castle and stuff with no head, but I had like a disembodied picture of her without a head, like holding a
Hmm.
head basically in a basket, and it was just creepy. But there was always some really cool stories in those, and the vampire one and the ghost one were the two some of the best. They were awesome. Yeah, I did still have one. I still have the ghost one. Is one I didn't get rid of. It's really beat up though, but this was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What year is that from?
Oh geez, let me see. But it's called the Enchanted World was the series these were from, and it was a whole entire section of them. And this was from Time Life Books, Alexandria, Virginia. But like, you can like look at some of the artwork here. I can show you some if I can.
Okay. Is that the same, like the same artwork throughout the book? That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
and it's just a bunch of different types of stories, and like they even did different ones. So they even had like Japanese ghost stories, which was pretty cool because you get like lore of Japanese ghosts. And it just basically explains ghosts even like around the world.
So it's like true life stories of what people experience.
Yeah, illustrations in these books were so good. Like if you could ever find them, I'd highly like this one. One of the creepiest freaking little bastards I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I really like the art.
Yeah. Oh, there's the
The beheading.
beheading. Yeah. And here's like the Japanese artwork. They even did that one too. So when they're doing the Japanese ghosts, wife's revenge.
That's pretty cool. It kind of looks 3D. the way that the one is drawn.
So it was really cool, man. Like just the different things that they had in here. Even this, like this was cool. It was even like one of the page turning, just an actual hand turning the page,
That's awesome.
popping out. Yeah. Then if anybody needs to know the old school ones, it was these. The
Scary stories.
yeah, The Town in the Dark. There were 3 volumes.
Hmm.
And I still didn't get the one with the creepy
The clown
the
head.
one I remember, the clown head.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember finding those again. I was excited to find those. And I have some honorable mentions too that are pretty funny and funny stories about them. But
And that was your number three, correct?
yeah, number 3 for me for that one because those ones are just so iconic.
So my number three, and it made me think because I had a different position. So for this one, but I'll make that as an honorable mention because it's only a certain element to it, in which we previously talked about. So my number three would be the Silmarillion from Tolkien. And the reason that I picked that is because the whole story around it is Malcor, and it tells the whole story of Malcor and how dark his world was and the monsters he produced and his kingdom of Angbad and Ungoliant, the giant spider, and it was the only thing that he feared. That's how terrible the spider was, and the way that the world is. And I wish someone would do this, like Guillermo del Toro would do. Silmarillion would just be perfect. And the way that the story is, it talks about it's basically biblical, the way that it's set out. So it's kind of tough to get through, but once you get to the end of that, where this person begot this person and Alfs and all this, and it talks about the lights. So there basically was no sun. So there was lights on a pole, basically, just how to describe it. And Melkor destroyed those, and then he eventually stills the Silmarillions, which were the power or the light of the world. That's just the whole story of it up until where they put him in the void, which eventually happens to Melkor, and then it goes into the story of Sauron and how he was, I don't know if he was like a vampire, I think it described him as for Melkor, but he was like his lieutenant and he eventually became made the rings and all that. So it talks about the intro to Lord of the Rings before everything happened, The Hobbit and all that. So that's just the horror element to Malcor, and he was just such a good villain when you get to that part.
That's pretty cool. I've heard the same, like how you said, it's hard to get through because it's like
Hmm.
reading the Bible, well, basically like all of Tolkien's work,
Yeah,
history explained and everything. I've heard that before, like even from my dad because he was a big Tolkien fan, and we actually he's that's the reason why I kind of started reading too a little bit better was my grades were shitty when I was in school, and he set me down every day during the summer, and we read The Hobbit together.
hmm.
And then we started going into the Lord of the Rings, and it wasn't until middle school when I started actually getting into books a little more.
Yeah,
But yeah, I remember hearing that from him too. It's a hard read, but it's cool because of all the history based, like where everything came from, where the orcs came from, where
yeah,
elves came from, dwarves. I
yes.
love stuff like that. Where like if you like now as an adult, I can appreciate that stuff way more because you get to learn the history of what happened,
Hmm.
like why Middle Earth's the way it is, and where all these people have come from, why there's only so many wizards left, where Smaug the dragon came from, the
Hmm.
spiders. So
Yeah,
what
and
was
they're
her
all
name?
made by Melkor.
Yeah, what was the Spider Queen's name? Do you remember?
Shelob.
The Sheila. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old
So
was Sheila?
I think they said was it 1,000 or 10,000 years old, but Ungoliant was the mother to all the spiders in the Silmarillion.
Then I like even how they explained like how wearing the ring you could hear the spiders speak.
Hmm.
Because just of the dark world and stuff, like the way it's formed and how
Yeah.
it's tied. So when
And just
Frodo
the
put on the ring, he could hear what the spiders are talking about, or Bilbo.
yeah. just the way that, my opinion, that Peter Jackson just ruined The Hobbit. And the best version, if you want to see movie or TV show or cartoon, is the cartoon from, I think it's like 77 or 78.
Yeah.
The way that it's
Oh
drawn is
God,
just so
they were
good.
so good. Yeah.
And it gets to the point it follows the actual book and it gets to the end instead of having like four movies that are unnecessary. They could have just wrapped that up movie in like 3 hours and been done.
So there's a song I always play every once in a while when I'm running and stuff, and I
Mhm.
think it's from The Lord of the Rings, but it's the golems or the orcs going through Mordor. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Oh,
If
there's
you
when
remember
there's
that
a whip,
song,
there's a way.
yeah, they're singing that song like we don't want to go to war today.
Okay.
If you could find that and clip that, it's pretty funny. But that right there is like one of those motivational songs. You can run to that song because it's a Jody drill, is what it is. So
Yeah.
it's one of those formation drill songs. But if I would have known that, like if I would have remembered it when we were in like ROTC and doing stuff, I would have made that Jody drill. We would have sang that fucking song
That would have been
because
funny.
it's just funny. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
What's your number?
Where's
It's
the
number
ghost?
two for you.
Yeah. So number two for me.
Yeah.
Number two would probably be just the Dark Tower collection, the 1 through 7 that Stephen
Mhm.
King wrote. And it's not really like horror based per se, but it intertwines a lot of Stephen King's world. And that was one of the first books that I actually got in trouble for reading in school because I wasn't reading their stupid books, I was reading mine.
Yeah.
So I'd sit there and like I never understood that. Like, how can an English teacher get mad at me for not reading her book but still reading a book?
Yeah.
You know, I'm reading still. Shouldn't you be happy I'm reading?
Yeah.
So I remember reading that through high school, and me and my dad were reading like at like parallel. Like he was such a faster reader than me though, so he'd get ahead of me. But we were sitting there waiting, and I remember getting all those books. The 1 year I get books for Christmas, I'm actually really happy because it's the whole series again. The ones I'm missing, but like one of my favorite books in that whole entire deal, and I even got on audio because I liked it so much, was Wizard in Glass. And Wizard in Glass was just done so well. I like that book because it explains Roland's past, like when he first becomes a gunslinger
Hmm.
and like his first love and just all the stuff that happened to him. And it was such a good freaking book, a good series, and like where you want to read more on what's happening. I wish Stephen King would have wrote more on what happened in Roland's life, like between that time period and on when he's actually looking for the Dark Tower,
Yeah.
because it was good, and it was just one of those deals where it used to make me laugh because all my friends were reading Harry Potter.
And
All
you're reading
Jess is a
Dark
big
Tower.
nerd,
Yeah.
and I was reading Dark Tower. So I was always saying, I'm reading the Dark Tower. I'm not reading your Harry Potter stuff. My wife has every Harry Potter book they've ever made.
Yeah.
I have every Dark Tower thing they've ever made. So yeah, that was just such a really good, compelling story, and I like just the way he made that world, and he even put himself in the world. How arrogant that is, but even like by him putting, did you ever read any of them?
No.
So even when Stephen King puts himself in the world, he comes off as like a prick and like just a little asshole. And you fucking hate him in the book because like he's writing this whole story about Roland, and Roland's like the epitome of cowboy and old knight. So he's like Clint Eastwood, you know, and
Yeah.
Knights of the Round Table. That's essentially how you look at Roland. And man, like the movie sucked compared to the books. It was
Yeah.
just a bummer.
Yeah, that's what
But
everyone says. I've heard say about Dark Tower, who likes the Dark
yeah,
Tower books.
it was too bad too because you would think that Matthew McConaughey would he plays a pretty good villain
Hmm.
and he would play the Man in Black really well if they would have just did it justice. I don't even give a shit about Idris Elba playing Roland. To me it's it kind of sucks, but you know, um, artistic creativity and all that. I guess
Yeah.
I could live through him not being the way he should be in the book
I
if they
don't
just would have did it better.
yeah, I don't think anyone who likes books will be ever satisfied with the movies.
No, I'm
It's just the
with
way
that
it
too.
is. So, my number two is a graphic novel. It's Alien Labyrinth. Don't not sure if you've heard about that, but it's from Dark Horse Comics. What the story is a scientist, and it talks about how he was younger and he was traveling to different solar or systems in space with his family, and they crash landed on this planet where the aliens are. There's an alien hive, and in the alien hive, they're unable to produce correctly. So the aliens are recovering human bodies and they have some type of sickness. So they're unable to make alien drones. So every time that someone's born, they come out deformed or they're just like stillbirths. And the horror aspect of that is that his family is killed, he's captured, and the way that they force feed him because he comes part of the hive and he eventually has one in his chest, but how he has to feed himself, and I'll show you the book right here. So inside of it's like just the drawing too. I love the drawings, and if they ever made a correct, this would be the correct movie to make is, and it's so gruesome they'll never make it. And the way that they feed and the horrible experiments the aliens do to the people because they're basically trying to create their replicas of their own drones and the things that they so he eventually escapes. I'll just if anyone has never read it, I'll leave that to it. He eventually escapes, becomes a scientist for the corporation, and he has aliens that he's raising and training and seeing how they function. So he's just telling the story of what happened to him and what got him there. So there's a second element to where he's doing tests on an actual alien on a base.
So when he was making his aliens, I think I've seen this. One day I did a deep dive on Alien. Was he
Mhm.
making them basically as like a way to infiltrate the hive,
No.
or no? Was that another one? Because there's another story like that too, where they created a like they made aliens, but they made them where they were I guess like replicants of the alien instead.
Hmm.
So they had the same mannerisms, but they were made to actually like infiltrate a hive to see how they function because of the Warren Corporation and all that was trying to figure them out or weaponize them.
Yeah.
But I
No,
think that might have been another graphic novel.
it's just the element where he leaves the planet and those aliens are still there. They're just dying off because they're not going to be able to reproduce. And then he goes and he takes his knowledge of the aliens to implement the experiments, what's going on with the warrior that he has stuck in a maze. So like the people are also going in the maze with the alien just to do experiments and how everything reacts. It's a really good story. If
Oh,
there was
crazy!
like I said, if there was a perfect alien movie, that would be Alien's Labyrinth, but it's so gruesome they'll never make it.
I don't know, man. Well, they'll never make it right anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll screw it up somehow. But there's another one out there like that. You remember No Country for Old Men?
yeah.
So the same guy who wrote that book wrote another one called Blood Meridian. And I don't know if you've ever listened or read Blood Meridian, but it's pretty fucked up. It's a
No, what
jacked
is
up
that
book.
about?
Blood Meridian is basically about like the old west and how like lawless it was, and it's following like one specific character. And there's even one where they end up going. I can't remember where it was. If it was like in Orleans, New Orleans, or if it was somewhere one of them southern states. There's like a Baptist preacher with a big old tent,
Hmm.
and some guy turns everybody against the preacher, basically calling the dude like a pedophile and all this. And they basically just string up the preacher and kill him. And the guy just said, I made all that up. I just wanted to see this happen. The guy was called the judge, and he's just fucking ruthless with the shit he does.
Hmm.
But Blood Meridian's crazy. But I guess they're talking about there's going to be a adaptation of it, and they were really surprised about it because Blood Meridian is one of those movies where it's the book's so damn gruesome that you wouldn't think that'd be made into a movie. There's no way, but they're trying to.
Yeah, well, you could say No Country for Old Men is pretty gruesome itself.
Yeah, absolutely, and they did a really good job with that one.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of my favorite things about that movie is there's no score,
Yeah,
so it's all just
the
tension.
greatest
And
villain in movie history, in my opinion.
yes,
Anton
good
Chigurh.
lord,
He's so good.
fuck, ruthless, and just the way he acts and his drive is just nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he did such a good job. That's kind of an off tangent,
yeah.
but
No, I understand. Just having the gruesome element and thinking that something won't be
mhm.
made. What's your number two? Are we
I
on
already did my number two. We're on honorable
honorable
mentions.
mentions? Geez, I'm all getting
It's all
everybody
good,
right.
man. Usually
Honorable
we just
mentions.
so it would be like some of the other Stephen King books, like Christine. I like Christine. That was a good one because of just so the book was so much different than the actual movie, and I like the movie. I like the movie just because it was just to me, it's one of those timeless movies, classics. I love
Mhm.
the car. I love everything about that. I love the fact the car, plays its music like to kind of compliment Artie, you know, and then that just like relationship with the car. But in the book, it's so much more detailed and it's so much different. Where like he's actually being possessed by a ghost that's in
Mhm.
the car, the previous owner, and he's picking up the mannerisms and the language of that guy, calling people shitters and getting the hunch from the spine problems. Everything's just compounding to the point where it's just crazy. That's an honorable mention for me. I like that. Another one, I was gonna put this as my number ones, but these ones are probably honorable mentions just because these are the creepiest freaking books I have ever read in my life.
Mhm.
So they're in there for creepy books as well. I'd have to go like Hellbound Heart, Clive Barker, Nightbreed, I think is one. Like it's a graphic novel. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Those were neat. And the graphic novels were just neat. Then Judge Dredd, Judge Death, all the Judge Dredd Death series ones. That was cool. I had that graphic novel as well. Um, those would probably be honorable mentions for me.
Okay. Mine, we previously talked about is just the communion book and the picture itself on the book. I couldn't really say because I know we both heard the story of Whitley Schreiber and what happens to him, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just more or less the cover to that book and how my blood ran cold when I first seen that picture of the alien on the cover. Another one, and what I recommend to you, because I know you know nothing about it, is Junji Ito and his books and his art is, and he's a Japanese artist, and we have English translated books, and they have a series now. They had original series on Netflix, and it took place, or it was stories from the book, and then there was a second one that was recent, and then there's a new one. It's Uzumaki, which is spirals in Japanese. And that series, it's black and white, like the original books, is has been amazing so far. They're on episode three, but it exactly follows the books, and I watch it in Japanese language instead of English, and it's I don't know what it is, but it puts you more in the elements of horror when you watch it in the Japanese language and with subtitles rather than the English version. I like it a lot better just with subtitles. But the art from that, and if you actually lived in the world of Junji Ito, would be terrifying because I think about that all the time. Like you're in this city where the spiral shit is going on. But if you were to go out of that, there's so much horrible shit that's going on in the world. I would hate to live in the world of Junji Ito, but it's so horrific. I mean, I can't believe I didn't put his books as
Got
my
one of his
places,
shirts.
but you need to look them up and read them. Man, the artwork to the stories are just phenomenal. Just so good.
I was gonna start the animes when I had it wasn't Crunchyroll, it was another one that I was paying for, and I had them on queue because I like watching horror animes.
Hmm.
They're just fucking dark. But
Yeah.
we were watching those like Battle Royale, and things like that. And I saw his it just popped up, and I stopped working because the guy I used to work with, he was a big anime nerd. What the hell you call him? I can't remember what the slang term for him is, but he was
I didn't
definitely
even know there
one.
was a slang term for him.
It's weeboo, I think. No, that might not be it, but it's a slang term for like people who really dive into like Japanese culture and anime.
Hmm.
But we were he'd always watch slice of life animes and like the dating ones and stuff like that, and I always watched like really jacked up horror ones.
Yeah.
So I'd always send him those, and we'd compare. It's like, dude, that was a fucked up anime. It's like, yeah, I know. So that one I was just about to start, and I think I started maybe a couple of them, and I haven't watched them fully because like I think they combined with somebody else with Funimation or something, and it got kind of clustered. But
Okay.
I've seen the books and I've been wanting to get them because the artwork is just nuts, and I know he's a hell of a horror writer for
Oh, he's so good.
Japan.
So
And I'm
good.
wondering,
The
did he do
terrifying writing is just great.
did he do any of the like Japanese folklore, or was it just stuff that's come to mind for him,
The
like
only
just him
thing that he
doing stuff?
did parallel that was the same as a Frankenstein, and that's
Okay,
really good too, man.
nice.
So good.
So I have to check that out because I know like I've seen certain things here and there, like Japanese folklore and like the things they have that are
Yeah,
scary and
he
creepy.
adds to it, but I mean, just his own. It's just so terrible. Like
Oh, that's
terrible in a
awesome.
good way. Like you'll really like it. So
Yeah, I'll
what's
have to pick
your,
those up.
yeah, for sure. What's your number one?
So number one for me is have to go classics, and it's got to be just Edgar Allan Poe's just series and stuff. I do
Mhm.
have another honorable mention. I do have to show you, and I forgot to grab it. Edgar Allan Poe's stuff was always. I remember reading the poems and everything. The Raven, El Dorado, Annabelle Lee, The Pit and the Pendulum, and all that stuff was for me was just iconic, and it just kind of got me into horror to begin with, as far as literature was concerned.
Yeah,
And I always Masquerade of the Red Death. I could just go on and on, but he's just one of the great American horror novelists, and people should read it. I mean, it's good stuff, but he's basically inspired
Telltale
everybody
Heart.
on Telltale Heart, yeah, and that stuff. Like it's once again, it just inspired so many other authors, and so
Mhm.
another honorable mention I forgot because I hadn't really read any of it. I just bought it because I wanted it. The
Yeah,
Necronomicon, H.P. Lovecraft.
Lovecraft. Yeah.
So the reason why this is in there too, I have some Lovecraft on my bucket list to read, and I haven't done it yet. Just busy.
Yeah,
But
he's really uses words no one uses anymore. Like
yeah. I'll
I mean,
actually I take it back.
I have a
I
problem with what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I did read or I did listen to one of his. It was The Mountains of Madness,
Yeah.
and that was one. I think Call of Cthulhu was the other one,
Hmm.
and the descriptions he has are really good. Like the way he does it, and that's why they're saying like it's so hard to make eldritch horror
Hmm.
just because of the way he wrote it and like the fall into madness that somebody has to go into. It's hard to like portray that in a TV
Yeah.
series or a movie.
The problem that I have with Lovecraft is that he was a known racist.
Yeah,
Is if you heard his poem about a N-word, I won't say that word on here, but he was a renowned racist, and he's the only racist that gets a pass in anything. So I know that's being like, but it's similar. Hitler used to be an artist, and people criticize his art. No one is calling for Hitler's art to come back or to be reprinted and all that. But somehow Lovecraft and his hate for minorities
it's a
is
pass.
okay.
Yeah,
I just don't get that because I don't want I'm not interested in Hitler's art or to hang it on my wall or anything. But I'm not saying it's bad art. I'm not saying Lovecraft's books are terrible. I'm saying he was a terrible person, and we shouldn't put him out to the
glorify it.
forefront like that because we
Yeah.
wouldn't do it to Hitler. It's just synonymous. I
Well,
just don't understand it.
Lovecraft never really became popular in his day when he was alive. He became popular because Future
Yeah,
On, writing for the science fiction magazines he wrote for,
yeah,
and that was the big thing.
and I look at it akin to like because I'm in the figure making business where we there's a whole community of people that make figures for adult collectors, like toys. Not this comes off sounding bad. Like it's not like personal toys that you put in humans. It's a toy where you put on the shelf like an action
Yeah,
figure to make it specific. But there's a company called HH Toys, and it was during Black Lives Matter, and they were saying that they fired an artist that they're working with because he does H.P. Lovecraft stuff. That's what the toys that he makes that are based on. And he fired an artist that didn't agree with his politics, which he was a leftist, and the other person just simply said that everyone lives matter, essentially.
yeah.
So he put him out there and aired him out, and it wasn't a good situation. So he told me personally, or I DM'd him because he was following me at the time, and like he has a large company. And I said, well, how do you justify following or slandering someone for their personal beliefs when you're making figures based on someone who's was racist and you're talking about BLM and donating money to them and this is what you're doing, but at the same time he made a poem about N-words. Like, how does that make sense?
That book was funny for me. I bought it because it was a hardback and it'll have the gold letter and everything. It
Yeah.
was so I go and order that from Barnes and Noble special, and woman calls me and says, "Hey, your book's in," and it's in the back with the paper over it with my name on it.
Hmm.
So she grabs the book and hands it to me. Like goes to hand it to me. She sees what it is immediately, and she just drops it like on the table. Like I had to reach over the counter to grab the book, and like she just pale white freaked out and like looking at me is like,
He thought it was an actual Necronomicon
yeah, it's like,
because they
what's your
sell them there
intentions?
too.
Yeah. So what's your intentions with this book? I was like, and just adding it to my collection. It's like, as well as saying, I get mad at myself. It's like, if I would have been a little more witty or thought about it, because I thought about it after I left, I should have told her, I'm going to bring forth the end of days. Just stare
Yeah,
at her
say,
dead eye
well,
and
this
then
is
just
what
go
gonna
away.
help me what I'm gonna do with the bodies in my closet.
Yeah. I'm going to bring forth the end of days. Take the book and just
Yeah,
walk away, just
yeah,
staring at her the whole time. But yeah, dude, she was physically like freaked out of the book, didn't want to touch it, didn't want anything to do with it because she didn't know what it was until she took the freaking paper off and saw it and then just dropped it and the
yeah,
old thud. I was like, Jesus, man.
yeah. Well, I understand that because they, like I said, they sell actual Necronomicons there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I always tell my kids too, is like never read it, just don't touch it. You don't know where it's been or who's handled it. So
Mhm.
I understand it. But
Yeah.
if the fact that she doesn't know the difference between Lovecraft and an actual one is pretty hilarious.
Yeah. It just made me laugh. I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking funny. That was good
Yeah.
shit. Like, I was gonna go purposely now after that. If she was still working there, I don't think she works there anymore. But I was gonna purposely order weird shit like the Satanic Bible and
Yeah.
just stuff to add to the collection,
Just a
just to
mess with
freak
her.
her out. Yeah, I
And
have
there's
another book like that too. I don't know if you've ever seen it or heard about it, but Santa Muerte. I bought another book. It's called "Devoted to Death," and it had a Reaper on it. But it was talking about there was a guy doing a case study on Santa Muerte and how it's at the time it was like the top growing religion in the United States, and it's a cartel based religion in a way, or the cartel
yeah.
use it. So it gets a bad rap because of the cartel because of the shit they do with the sacrifices and stuff to Santa Muerte.
Yeah. Well, it's basically their last resort because they don't think they're going to be forgiven by God. So this is
Yeah.
their one chance of forgiveness before they die.
So that was an interesting read, though. That was really interesting to see like what these people actually like, what their the religion's based off of and how it's growing.
Hmm.
That was another one of those funny books. Like while I was reading it, because I go to my car to read, and I don't know why, but every time I go to my car to read down King Supers, I'd have like Mormons come knock on my window and try to give me pamphlets, or like Baptists, like religious people, Jehovah's. They come in my car and like knock on my window and try to give me a pamphlet. I just hold the book up, just point to the book, Devoted to Death. Just leave me
Yeah.
alone. I used to have a Reaper in my car, so I used to just point to the Reaper, point to the book, and they just go away. It's like, God, man, just leave
Yeah.
me alone.
And forgive me for going off on the tangent. I
Oh,
was
you're
just
fine.
saying because people that press like BLM and like what is it called? The diversity thing are always pressing Lovecraft, and they don't follow the same rules as everything else. It's just like certain things where they'll like, oh, this is acceptable. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's all the point I was trying to make. And getting to my number one is, I'll take it out of the cellophane. My favorite childhood book, Frankenstein moved in on the fourth floor.
Nice.
And it follows two brothers that move in to a complex with their mother, and they believe a certain guy whose name is Frank is Frankenstein, and he's actually doing the things that Frankenstein is doing, like the doctor, but specifically the monster. And man, it's the artwork that really absorbed me
That's
into
good
the book
artwork.
also, and just the general story of it. And you eventually are left with, was this guy really Frankenstein? But it just follows how they're trying to figure out and what they run into in their encounters with the guy named Frank. And it's just so good, and I still love it to this day. So if you haven't read it, definitely go out and
Cool. I'll
read
have to check that out. There's certain
it.
books like that I have to get, like just to have. Just I like how you saw that in cellophane. Now you ruin the value by taking it out and showing us. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
I know. It went down by $10, so it's now worth 20.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
moving on to our next subject, we're going to talk about the end of days and concerning that. So what particular was the subject? I can't remember right now because there was a separate element to it. I'll look it up real quick. Is
for
that
End of Days or
end of the world survival and like upcoming
oh, the
concerns
upcoming
about
election,
the like an
what ifs.
election? Yeah. So I guess we could fold that all into one. We could talk about the
Yeah.
what ifs. We could talk about how I think a big thing, if I could start off, is that people press like buy silver and gold because you're going to use them or need them when the economy fails. So somehow there'll be some magical merchant with a trench coat, like in the video game, and you'll be able to go to him and get food
Yeah,
for gold and silver that's not going to be
I'm
around.
with you there.
There's no one
Like,
going to be around that's going to be taking silver and gold. They're going to take bullets, they're going to take food, they're going to take water, they're going to take antibiotics, they're going to take anything that's of use. Silver and gold's going to become as valuable as dirt.
yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I always hear that buy silver, buy gold, bad times are coming. You need to have your money. It's like, no, I can't trade silver for anything. I can't trade gold for anything.
It's worthless.
I'm investing in lead. Lead's
Yeah.
something to invest in.
I'm
Brass and
gonna
lead.
I'm gonna invest in non-perishable food packs where they won't expire for 30 years. That's what I'm gonna
Ropes
invest
and
in.
shovels.
Bullets.
Bullets.
Yeah.
You know.
So, what can
Yeah.
you expand upon that? Like end of the world survival. We'll go on the element.
Oh man. So my idea for survival like that, if like, and we're just talking different things right now, we'll just go normal. Not going like zombie for survival and shit like that, but like actual real world stuff. Like say if we get into World War III or nuclear winter, things like that, or even a natural disaster, is just get away from cities. This would be the
Mhm.
big thing I would do because people are grossly ill prepared, and it's just you got to build a community with people like that are like minded. Me and my coworkers talk about it. My buddies at work even talk about it. Saying, "Hey, if shit is the fan, maybe we ought to take one of these water trucks with us. We could put a lot of water in this thing, and it's big enough where we can just plow through stuff
Yeah,
if we need to." But the problem with that too, though, like you think about it, if you have a grid down situation, man, you're not going to get gas anywhere unless you have old school pumps. There's no old school pumps anymore, very rarely. Some of the rural towns may still have them, but it's going to be tough.
it's few far in between that just
Yeah,
don't exist anymore.
anything mechanical like that is just damn near impossible to find,
Yeah, and it's
and the
one.
knowledge is gone. Unfortunately, a lot of the knowledge to that stuff. I mean, could you grow your own crops and everything like right now? As as it stands? Like, if you had to, like, do you know how to grow your own crops? You know how to till the soil, rotate crops, make sure the soil's good, get a water source to it.
I would have a place to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you do actually have a place to do that, so that is handy. But like
Yeah.
most people don't. I mean,
Yeah, they wouldn't fare well. And
yeah,
it would be a matter too, like because a person can control the upper line of the water, so it would be a matter of communicating with the neighbors around there too. So that would be ultimately the key to survival. And beyond that, what I was going to say, like you getting the water truck, the bad thing about that is if there's things are already fucked up and bad, there's going to be who knows if there's going to be people controlling the end of the block and you have to worry about them. And then there might be another group like outside by the I-25. There could be another group out there. There could be groups along I-25. Who knows how far you would make it without,
yeah,
surviving. It's
and
just,
that's why you got to get out of the cities, man, because it's going to be roving bands of people stealing to survive.
yeah,
Like, I
car
guarantee
coming
you,
by and it's going to be over for you.
my neighbors don't have anything to protect themselves. Oh, well, they have stuff probably to protect themselves. They don't have any like survival instincts and like emergency food. Those assholes have drugs because they sell fucking drugs. So to me, in my mind, they'd be like a threat immediately.
Yeah.
If I had to stay in this house, it's like, man, they'd
And you would
be,
actually have to consider that. Would I have to
yeah,
eliminate these people to just
yeah.
survive?
Who am I gonna have to eliminate to survive and just to get out? Because these people are going to be desperate, and that's the scary part about it. Because in 3 days' time, 3 days' time, people will run out of food. People will get desperate as hell. I mean, look at what
Mm.
happened with COVID, man.
Yeah.
It was nuts, and that was people
I
buying
was,
toilet paper up the ass. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
yeah. And that's what I was generally worried about is that when stock runs low, I thought general or sincerely that stores were going to run out of shit and people were going to start going door to door and it's coming. I know it's coming. That's what my fear was that it was going to happen. And the funny thing about it is, and I hate to divulge the secret to it, but when there was out of stock stuff here in Pueblo, there was everything. It was fully stocked. So maybe I'll bleep out. You'll be bleep, and then you'll
Yeah,
just know
we went
about
here.
it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still, I'm uh going to that statement though. That was a plan for a while there because I had buddies who lived in like Beulah,
Hmm.
and they lived right at the entrance of Beulah. So we were always talking, even back in like high school times and stuff, saying, "Hey man, if shit ever hits the fan, we're going to Beulah where you guys are at because you guys will block off the road, and most of the community down there to band together and know who to get rid of, who's not going to contribute."
Hmm.
We'd go there and just take over that little town and then just lock it down. And there's fishing game out there. There's farmland out there if you need to use it. There's means to protect yourself because it's only one entrance in, one entrance out. Basically, it's one main road, and
Yeah.
you're able to lock it down. And you can see you have
Well,
high
there's
vantage points over there.
there's still that back road that goes to.
Oh yeah, but who knows how many people really know about that unless you're local around
Yeah,
here.
I'll bleep that out too. There's a road that goes
There's a
to.
gun range up there too. I mean, you can go shoot up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is. I don't know if you ever knew that, but if you drive up
Oh.
there, there's a little gun range out there. You can just go shoot.
Hmm.
But we went there. I'll send you a picture of it, show where it's at, so you can go out there if you ever wanted to. If you're taking a trip fishing, say I want to shoot some guns too. There's a little thing up there. But yeah, even though there's that back road in, it's still known, and you can still block it off. I mean, you can still watch it. Now, mind you, no place like that's ever fully secure. If you need to get into a place, you can get into a place. It's just about your knowledge and how to do it. But community, I think, is a big thing with that, especially small towns, like you said, like and stuff.
Hmm.
They're a small enough community where everybody knows each other, and those things that stuff kind of dies. Like even here in the county, I'm pretty sure if you lived down here in the county and you made good friends with the farmers and stuff, and you had cattle, you could trade for damn near anything.
Yeah.
Well, you grow corn, I have cattle, you need meat, I can give you meat, you give me vegetables. We just work as a cohesive unit. and that's one of the big things you got to do, and you have to try to establish. And it's kind of sad now because even counties dying out here. I mean, the people aren't wanting to take over their family's farmland, and they're selling it to these assholes in California, Texas.
Yeah,
They're coming down
that's
here,
sad.
millions of dollars buying it and developing it and making houses. It's like, why are we destroying our agriculture? So you can build a house here because you don't like what you did to California. You know,
Yeah,
so it
Colorado's
sucks.
not ruined yet. We're gonna ruin this or live here until it's ruined to like California too.
Yeah, that's we talk a lot saying, man, we want to get out of Colorado because it's getting bad, but shit, it's not bad yet, and it's hard to leave a place that you've grown up all your life.
I think that people have seen enough and they know they don't want socialism or communism, and they're really worried about it. From what I've seen and all the rallies and all that, it's just unprecedented. The numbers, I think things are going to change for the better.
I hope so too. I'm keeping that optimistic mindset that people are just fed up, and you got to be. I mean, you see everything that's going on, and it's just awful.
Hmm.
And people have to be smart enough to realize, hey, this shit isn't going to work. This DEI crap they're pushing on everybody, this cultural Marxism they're pushing on everybody. That's what's going on with the schools and stuff. That's what's going on with the
Yeah.
colleges. I think COVID actually brought that out to the full front where parents actually saw what their kids were being taught. And a
Hmm.
lot of parents were like, hey, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
This
And
has
I
got to
mean,
stop,
and
you
honestly,
know?
to be fair, it doesn't happen at every school because
No, it doesn't.
my
It
kids
does.
went to South and Centennial and they weren't pushing any of that stuff. So I think there is an element to over worry with that stuff, but it is out there because they are
Mhm.
pressing to have that weird, creepy shit. I should creepy shit. That's all it is. Like out there for kids to digest, and there's no reason for kids to be around that stuff.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think that's how they say that they're trying to do low population and they're trying to sexualize children is evil. It's evil what they're trying to do. There are
Absolutely.
true evil people to me.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I think there's just evil in this world right now, and it's bleeding out, and we're seeing it, but it's also dying off in a way because we're actually seeing it and
Yeah.
stopping it, hopefully, God willing. So this upcoming election, I think it's a really big turning point. We really need to make sure that they win
Yeah.
because you look at the way things are going. Like the Democrats can't be fucking winning. Harris can't when she has nothing to fucking run on. All the stuff she's doing is, oh, I'm gonna do what Biden did. We're just gonna have 4 more years of Biden. And the way she's running is like she's the underdog or trying to claim you're the freaking vice president. You're not an
Yeah.
underdog.
There's no
What the
underdog
hell is
here.
wrong with you? But
Yeah.
nobody ever asks her any hard questions. Nobody asks her what her policies are. If they do, she just flip flops on them constantly.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
it's
she slept her
getting
way into every freaking election and everything she's ever been in her whole freaking life.
yeah. Well, it's getting so bad she's trying to do more interviews, and the more that she does open her mouth, the worse
The
that it
worse
gets for
it
her.
is.
It's not going to stop. People already know what's going on, and we don't want our country the way it is. It's a constitutional republic. We
Yeah.
want it to stay that way. That's it.
This stuff they always bring up about it's a threat to our democracy. Our democracy. Listen to the words they're saying. They are always saying our democracy. We are not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. We always have been. That's the way our nation was set up. They want a democracy for a reason because they want to control you. They want
Yeah,
control. You know.
that's why they're trying to get rid of the gerrymandering and the electoral college.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's the reason that's set up and ingrained in the constitutional republic so every person can get heard. It could be fair to everybody. If you're in a regular democracy, it's going to be majority rules and you're going to be
Hmm.
overpowered. So everything that you
So
have, if we vote for you to get rid of all your money and all everything that you have, this what it's going to be. There's nothing that you could do about it, as opposed to the constitutional republic where you do own what you own and nothing, no one could take it away from you. So I, it's just socialism is what it is. They want us to become Venezuela, where all the elite and the rich people are going to stay the same, and we're just going to suffer underneath their foot.
yeah. And so what was that line about democracy? Is democracy was it's two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner.
Yeah,
Freedom is a a well-armed sheep contesting the vote.
Yep.
You know,
Hmm.
and that's people. That's what things like people don't realize because they don't look back at history. They don't see what's going on, like in Venezuela and all that. Which luckily now with the internet and the way things are now, the way we get news, you can kind of, if you're willing to do it, you can sit through the bullshit and actually look see what's going on and see why things have been so bad in Brazil, Venezuela, places like that. And you need to realize, like, hey, there's a reason why we have guns. It's a
Yeah.
reason why they can't trample over our rights like they've done everybody else, but they're damn near trying to.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, they're
that's why they
doing
want
everything
to.
they can, and that's the
Yeah,
only
that's
thing that keeps them in bay. And that's what the Second Amendment is about: is to use your guns to overrule tyranny.
and all these
That's
people like
what it's for.
even Biden saying how like, oh, America, those Americans with the AR-15s, they don't have jets. It's like, you know what? In a war of attrition, people with little to nothing win a
Mhm.
lot of times. And look at Vietnam. Look how detrimental that was to us.
Yeah. So
Look at places in the Middle East, man. Like they fight like crazy, and we have the best military on the freaking planet at the moment.
yeah, I mean the thing that I fear, and I watch videos on it, and a good video on how to evade avoid them is Grand Thumb. I don't know if you watch his videos, and
Yeah.
he did a good video about counter war tactics for drones. And he did every element to that, like urban warfare and all that. If you watch his videos, I think he's doing that intentionally to prepare people, of course, in case like worst thing happens. But the drone thing is just terrible, what's going on. And
Oh man. Oh.
the problem is that it's just not the general public in other countries. They're going to come for us with that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. But we, there's
That's more to fear than anything else.
absolutely. I agree with you there. But we have countermeasures for that as well, and I'm pretty sure other people do. It's
Yeah,
just it kind of sucks the way it's being used and the way it's implemented. But that goes back down to a group of people who are smaller fighting a larger force, and they're doing it with means that they have. Mind you, they're being bolstered by us and other NATO countries to
yeah,
utilize these weapons. But shit, man, I mean, they're stopping Russia. I mean, it could be just another fucking proxy war for all we know with Russia, and Russia's not a freaking threat, man. Their whole GDPs, I'm pretty sure, like the size of one of our states. You
yeah,
know, they're hemorrhaging money. Siberia's looking to annex themselves because they're pissed off, and that's where all their resources come from. Um, China's the same way. I'm pretty sure China's just a freaking paper tiger. The only thing that's scary about China is they're buying up a lot of our farmland.
yeah. That needs to
That's
be put
that's
an end to.
scary.
They need to surrender the
Absolutely.
land and never
I
buy
think
anything again.
I think Trump can say like, you know what? No, all this land, you don't have access to
And
this. The
I
hell
don't
with
know if
it.
you ever seen a map of where they've have the most land, but it's
I
by
have.
says
Yeah, it's
our
by a lot of
military
our strategic
bases.
bases,
Hmm. That's
and
scary.
that's scary. And another thing that really irks me too are these tech giants buying up land like freaking Bill Gates. Do you know
Hmm.
like he's one of the leading people in the U.S. who owns farmland or agriculture?
Yeah,
He's
he has a
buying up
bunch of
all the
land here
fucking
in
farmland,
Colorado.
and I don't know why. That shit's unnerving. That asshole's one of the ones who believes in the whole entire call the population and all this
Yeah.
crazy stuff and
Well, I think
vaccines.
it's with his intentions, it might be that he doesn't want people to farm because he wants a smaller population,
Yeah,
and that's his
I
means to do it.
yeah, this is to buy up the farmland and have it just be useless.
Yeah.
Now, if war ever did break out, any of that shit that was going on with like China owning land, they would never be able to set up anything on the land.
No.
They said, we own that land. So, really? Come get it, bitch. Good luck,
Yeah. Well, that's a
because we're
bad
not going to
thing. I
let you have
mean,
it.
besides us, like each other on the streets, which would happen is that maybe I shouldn't say that word. I'll bleep it out just in case YouTube doesn't like it. But I think we would be a danger to ourselves and each other. But if anyone would have came over here too, like you said, it would be they would have a lot of trouble. There would be
It would be
no
it'd be
way of planting
9/11
a
2.0
flag.
at this, because you know how the country rallied after 9/11 happened. The country rallied and again, we were all Americans again, and there was no divide. It doesn't matter what race, creed, or color you were. We were attacked and we rallied together. Um, it'd be like that. So what they're doing now is a lot of psyop stuff, and it's a lot of well, psyop warfare is what it is with TikTok and things like that for China. So they're dividing people by pushing racial issues here and there. Every chance they get, they try to do something Black Lives Matter, trans, this, that. They don't do that stuff in China. TikTok's a whole different fucking platform in China. It's more learning.
Yeah.
Here, it's just a cesspool. You start looking at all the stuff that's going on now. Do you want to ban that, like they're trying to do, or
Mm.
not? I
I
mean,
think it depends on what you look on because I know I hear people say that all the time, like it's a liberal cesspool, TikTok, but every time I get on it, I think it's just more based on what you like because all I get
it's
is
based on your
paranormal stuff,
algorithms.
anti-government, and pro Republican posts. Like that's all I get.
The thing that you got to remember too, though, is like, yeah, okay, sure, you can ban all this stuff and censor people and do what you got to do, but there's a flip side of that coin that if somebody's out on the internet spewing out racism and hate and all that, kind of want to know that that guy's doing that. So if you delete him from a platform completely, he's still going to spew out that hate and racism and all the other shit he's doing, his crazy
I agree.
rhetoric,
I
but
also
you
believe
won't know
that
about it.
I also believe they have the absolute right to do that. I
Yeah,
mean,
like,
we don't agree with it, but they do.
yeah,
Like, who
and
cares?
it's
Just look
it's
at
better
something
to
else.
know. It's better to know those people. Like, say, oh, hey, wait a
Yeah,
minute, yeah, that guy's a hardcore this,
yeah,
hardcore right wing extremist psycho, or hey, that person's a fucking communist. It's better to know that they're doing that shit and they're putting it out and have a platform to speak, because then
yeah.
you could listen to it and say, okay, yeah, fuck that guy. But if he's
Hmm.
doing it on his own and radicalizing other people, and you don't know about it
Yep.
because he's no longer platformed, then you don't know what's going on, unless you
Hmm.
actually look into it.
Yeah,
So that's the flip side of the coin of getting rid of stuff like that, and it's kind of scary, but it's just things you got to think about. So the whole TikTok thing, yeah, it's with the kids and everything. It seems like they're pushing a lot of dumb shit, but certain people like me and you, like if I look on my TikTok, it's the same thing. My wife sends me recipes and stuff like crazy and
yeah.
videos, and so my algorithm for TikTok's not. I don't see any weird shit on there to be honest, but it's just catering to my algorithm, and I hardly ever freaking use it. But
Yeah.
other people who are getting indoctrinated into other things,
I think it's just
and they
personally
push it. It sucks.
who they follow and who they think their influences are because even my kids and what they look at, well, my older kids, but my daughter that I have all the time and she's younger, all she get is like movie stuff and funny stuff. But she never sees any of that other stuff. Like you said, it's just based on your own personal algorithm.
And that book on that side of coin too. You could change the algorithms. I mean, you want to start setting people certain things, you can sneakily in
Yeah.
small little snippet videos. And unfortunately, our attention spans aren't what it used to be. This long form that we're doing here, like unless somebody really likes to watch long form,
Hmm.
most things like if you're trying to go TikTok or YouTube and all that, it's small bits of videos you put out there in order to
Yeah.
get the most views. And the attention span
Well,
is feeding into that. I mean,
what
a
you
lot
have
of
to
people
do to
can't focus.
combat that is like make clips of everything. So
Hmm.
people will, if they want, they'll see this specific clip. So I'll
And then
clip
they
on
want to
this
watch the
episode,
video,
say watch the whole thing, and like leave it like
like uh
like on a
like the
cliffhanger.
clip saying that Hitler's artwork's really cool. And
Yeah, I'm gonna post that clip, and that's gonna be the only thing. It's like I really like Hitler's artwork, and that's gonna be
yeah,
it.
like shit.
It's like what?
It's like, god damn. Yeah, but yeah, like little clips like that. But yeah, that's the way to combat that. It's like I'm just saying, like the attention spans of the younger generations just it's kind of sad now because it's not like it used to be, like with us. But people like us, we grew up without the internet, and then kind of got put into this world where we could talk to each other over Zoom, have our smartphones, shit, we could play video games together, just hooking up an Xbox, before
Yeah.
back in the day.
We
Kids
have to
don't
do the
know
LAN
what a LAN
parties.
party used to be. Kids don't know what talking on a landline was.
Hmm.
People, they don't know any of that stuff. They didn't know you had to go to a library to look up information. But I think it's just we're an interesting generation. I think personally, just because of that,
Yeah.
how we didn't have it, and then all of a sudden we've adapted to it. Where
Hmm.
shit, we have people now who didn't even know about 9/11. They weren't even born.
Yeah.
The day the world stopped. Nobody even freaking knows about that. It's wild to think about.
Yeah.
You know,
It is for sure. So,
that's kind of the worry I have with if shit hits the fan. You got a lot of people who don't know stuff, but
well,
I'll
have you ever
give a shit.
seen that meme about if thank you for not liking guns when the world comes to an
Yeah,
end. Thank you for having supplies for me, or I can't
yeah,
remember how it
exactly.
goes.
Yeah, it's like a thank you for hoarding supplies for me because you don't have
Yeah,
guns.
there you go.
Appreciate it
Yeah, that's
because now those
exactly how
supplies
it's
are
going to
mine.
be, though. I
Yeah,
mean, it's going to be pretty crazy if it gets to that point, but
I
hopefully it
talked to one
won't.
of
I
I
mean,
talk to one of my
eventually,
neighbors every time we go down to my neighbor's house. He's a hardcore liberal,
uh-huh.
and he's even fed up with what's going on to the point where I think I don't think he'll vote Trump. I just think he won't vote. But I think
That's
he's even fed up with shit. He's like, I'm done.
yeah.
Like I'm gonna go buy a gun. I gotta buy a gun. This is getting ridiculous. I was like, really, Joe? It's
And that's
like,
kind of like thinking backwards. I mean, you want things to get better, but you won't do anything to change it just because you don't like someone. I mean,
yeah,
and that's how I thought too. Like when Trump first came around, I hate Hillary Clinton. I hate the Clintons. And then there was Donald Trump, a reality star. I was like, really, a reality star is gonna run the
this is
country?
the best we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was like, lose. So I voted independent. I didn't think nothing of it, but like 4 years later, it's like, yeah, this is gonna get fucked up if we don't have someone like Trump in. It's gonna
yeah.
be really bad. So it just changed my whole perception after, in perspective, what we had with Trump when Joe Biden came around and Kamala Harris. Man, they just fucked up everything.
Yeah, it's brutal. If you look at any of the statistics now, where how much stuff has gone up, your
Hmm.
housing, your gas, your food, everything's gone up just dramatically, and
I'm
it's
surprised that
ridiculous.
our nation even functions because they print money like it's nothing. It's
Yeah,
just
and that's what they decided to do. We're just going to print more money and throw it at this problem. So what's wrong with you
yeah.
people?
That makes no sense. Our money is completely useless. And beyond that, now that the what do you call it for the oil is gone, I can't think of what it's
OPEC.
called.
I
Uh,
think it's OPEC. So what's called in it. It's
the no, there's a different name to describe it. The
OPEC
petrodollar.
or something. Yeah,
Our
petrodollar.
petrodollar is no longer a thing. That has me scared beyond belief. If anyone
Yeah, because
looked into
that's what
that, that's scary enough to like say, yeah, we need fucking Donald Trump in this.
Yeah, and it's because they're trying to build their own system.
Yep.
So they're trying to do a petro yen now. So that's yeah, it's bad. And if we get Kamala, I guarantee you it's just going to get fucking worse.
Oh.
It's going to get a lot worse. I mean, how look at what's going on in the Middle East right now with Israel.
Hmm.
Look what's going on with Ukraine. I guarantee if you get in there, they're going to dump more money into that shit, and eventually they're going to get us into World War III because that's essentially what boosts the economy of America. It's war.
Yeah. But
It,
I
it
mean,
does.
looking at it from the perspective of, and I do believe that whatever God's will is what it is, for better or worse. Can't control anything. It's up to him, and we just have to make the best of whatever situation that we're going to be in.
Yeah, for sure. It just goes up to show you out there, people get
Yeah.
supplies, food.
Yeah.
Survival food's a big thing. It's a good commodity to have. Liquor, of all things, is actually a good trading thing to have.
Yeah, it is.
You know, booze, cigarettes, guns, bullets. You
Yep.
can trade all that stuff
So,
because it's going to be a trading commerce at this point. We're going to have to be relying on trading with each other,
yeah.
and things could get tough. But
Yeah. And
good
so,
times create weak people. Weak people create bad times. Bad times create smart people. You know, it's just a cycle.
And we're gonna find out what's gonna go on in a little less than 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's coming
just
quick.
like in these next 2 weeks, I'm just waiting for something to happen because I know they ain't gonna let shit die because things are going so bad for him. So
Hmm.
I'm just more worried about what might happen to Trump or they're gonna do something diabolical to make things
Yeah,
different. But I don't know if I think they've gone so far beyond that they can't do anything anymore. They know that it's over.
the only thing they can do now is just sabotage. Oh, they're gonna if they're gonna lose. Hopefully, they do lose. If they lose, the only thing they can try to do is try to start these wars and just make it where it's so hard for us to
Or
come back in the next 4 years. The good thing about it though is that JD Vance, I really do like that guy. I think he has a good head on his shoulders.
yeah,
He's articulate when he speaks. He
mhm.
knows how to play their stupid little games.
His rebuttal
And
game is just perfect.
fuck, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, just I think that guy, even if we can't get a whole lot of stuff going on with Trump in his 4 years in, he can do most, and then JD Vance can just take over for the next 8 and then just fix
Well,
things.
there's such good profit or prospects too, because if we had him and Tulsi Gabbard would be good. But Vic
Absolutely.
Ramaswamy is awesome.
Hmm.
What's his name? What is his name? I can't think of his name, but he's a young Republican guy. He's a black guy. I can't think of his name,
Oh shit! I can't remember his name either. I think I know what you're talking
but
about.
he's really good. He's as sharp as JD Vance. I mean, all three of them, all four of them are just really sharp.
Well, shit. I mean, you look at it now. Trump basically has. If you look at it, man, we have the dream team for this cabinet, and we have Tulsi Gabbard. He's wanting to get her in there. She needs to be in there. He's got a
John F.
Robert F.
Kennedy
Kennedy
Jr.
Jr.
Yeah,
And that guy's wanting to fix what I do believe is a big fucking problem in this country is all the crap we're eating. The stuff that we're putting in our bodies is goddamn awful. And
yeah,
like you look at like what they're feeding people in Europe and stuff, and how like their Coke only has 3 ingredients, 4 ingredients, and ours is full of a bunch of shit.
yeah,
It's slowly killing and poisoning us. You know,
yeah.
so man, to have
Everything from
just
the ground up needs to be changed. That's
yeah,
just what it is. It's what it
it's going
is.
to be tough, but I think he's learned. I think Trump learned from the last election like what he needs to do to this one or
Yeah,
this in this cabinet in this cycle. It's going to be pretty good.
yeah. All right, so we should end it
This
right
is
there.
well, it was good talking to you, man.
Right week, right month. I'll see you on the next one, Gerald.
Sounds good, man. See you, Adam.